My name is Claire Monroe. I'm 31 years old, and if you're watching this, I need you to listen closely because something is happening in my building in Unit 407 that no one else sees, no one else hears, and I'm not sure I'm going to make it through another night unless someone out there believes me. Please subscribe to this channel, like the video, and share this story with anyone who's ever lived somewhere that felt like it was watching you. I moved into a low-income apartment complex in Detroit 6 months ago. Nothing fancy, just 4 floors, no elevator, barely working radiators, the kind of place where the neighbors keep to themselves and no one asks questions. I live in Unit 406 at the far end of the hall on the top floor. For months I thought I was the last apartment. The hallway ends in a blank concrete wall, no door, no exit sign. But 3 nights ago, after I came home late from a double shift and walked toward my unit, I saw something different. A door at the very end of the hall, not freshly installed, aged, resting at the edges like it had been there for decades. Black numbers stenciled on the wood. 407. I stopped walking, blinked, the door was gone, just the wall again. I figured it was exhaustion, maybe even a dream. But then it happened again the next night, same time, same place. Door 407 appeared. Only when I was completely alone in the hallway. No other tenants, no noise. Just me. I stood in front of it for what felt like hours, and I swear to God I heard breathing from the other side, not loud, just shallow, like someone standing inches away waiting for me to knock. I haven't told anyone who would believe me. There's no record of a Unit 407 in the leasing office. The blueprints don't show it. I even asked the maintenance guy. He just laughed and said, that part of the building was sealed off in '99 after a fire, but there are no burn marks, no damage. And last night the door wasn't just visible, it was open, just a crack enough to see a room beyond it, and on the floor something shiny like a piece of jewelry. Something I lost years ago, something I was buried with. I should have walked away when I saw the door open, should have turned around, locked myself in my real apartment, called someone, anyone, and begged for help. But curiosity has its own kind of gravity, and when the door creaked open just an inch wider on its own, something inside me moved forward before I even realized I was stepping across the threshold into Unit 407 or whatever was pretending to be it, and what I found on the other side made my skin go cold from the inside out. It wasn't another apartment, not really. It was a perfect replica of my childhood bedroom, down to the exact shade of purple. On the walls, the worn teddy bear missing one button eye. The water-stained poster of Avril Lavigne I torn from a teen magazine in 2005. None of these things should exist, not now, not here, not in this city where I've never spoken of my past to anyone, but they did, and they weren't just props. They were real. I picked up a framed picture from the nightstand and dropped it instantly. It was a photo of me and my older sister Allison from a trip to Lake Superior, smiling with sand in our hair and noses sunburned, and yet that photo was lost in a fire when I was 13, a fire that started in my room, the same room I was now standing in again, impossibly whole, rebuilt behind a door that isn't supposed to exist. My fingers trembled as I turned in, slow circles, eyes scanning every inch, heart hammering so loud it drowned out the eerie silence, until I noticed something off. The closet door closed, unlike everything else that had been eerily welcoming. I reached for it, and just before my fingers touched the knob, I heard it. A knock from inside, not frantic, not loud, just deliberate. 1, 2, 3. My breath caught. I backed up fast, nearly knocking over the desk, and the second I stepped back across the threshold out of 407 and into the hallway, the door slammed shut behind me so hard the sound echoed through the building. When I turned around, there was no door again, just the blank concrete wall, but now I could hear something faint behind it, not knocking, not breathing, whispers, and they were saying my name like they'd waited years for me to return. I spent the entire next day trying to convince myself none of it was real, that I was sleep deprived, hallucinating, maybe still grieving in ways I hadn't faced. But grief doesn't bring back bracelets that burned, or rebuild bedrooms and hidden rooms, or bring back voices you've tried your whole life to forget. And that night when I passed the blank end of the hall again, there it was. Door to Unit 407 shut tight, but humming with something beneath the surface, like static rising off a muted TV. And then I heard it, a sound that didn't belong in that hallway, in that time, or in this world anymore. My sister Allison's voice, soft and broken like it used to be when she cried in her sleep after our parents fought. Claire, she whispered from behind the wall, behind the door, behind death itself. And I froze, every nerve in my body lighting up with terror and impossible hope. You left me, she said. You promised you'd come back. My chest locked. I took a step forward before I even realized I was moving, fingers outstretched toward the door, but I stopped when I felt the heat radiating from the handle like something inside was burning again, like the fire had never stopped. I couldn't save you, I whispered back, tears stinging my eyes, but then her voice changed. Deeper, slower. That's not true, Claire, you did save me, you brought me here. And then it wasn't just her voice anymore, it was mine layered with hers speaking together in unison. And now we're whole. I stumbled backward, heart pounding, and the hallway lights flickered above me, every bulb buzzing as if the entire floor was pulsing with some unseen current. I turned and ran, slammed my apartment door shut, locked it twice, and sat on the floor gasping, but inside my coat pocket, the bracelet I left behind in 407 was back, cold, clean, unburned, and wrapped around. It was a slip of paper in my handwriting that I've never written before. It said, "Next time don't forget the other half of you." That night, after hearing Allison's voice and finding the bracelet back in my coat pocket, I tried to stay awake, terrified of what might happen if I slept, but exhaustion is a predator, and somewhere between fear and flickering candlelight, I gave in and drifted off, only to find myself back inside the burning house I swore I'd buried in memory forever. The same hallway, the same smoke-choked air, except this time the layout was off, the walls too long, the doors too close together, like the entire house had folded inward on itself. And as I stumbled toward my old bedroom, flames licking the wallpaper, I saw it, a figure standing in the fire, completely untouched, watching me, not screaming, not afraid, just still. At first, I thought it was Allison, her silhouette, her posture, but then the figure tilted its head in a way Allison never did, sharp, bird-like, deliberate, and I realized something worse. It wasn't Allison, it was me, not like a reflection, not like a ghost. It was me now, same haircut, same clothes I fell asleep in, just standing there inside the fire like it had been waiting to meet me. "You left us here," it said, voice identical to mine but layered with something hollow. "Now you've come back to burn with us." I turned to run, but the hallway behind me had disappeared, replaced by the hallway from my apartment building. And at the end, 407's door stood open, glowing faintly red, like it led back into the fire. "Wake up," I whispered to myself, "wake up." But nothing changed. Not until the burning version of me reached out and touched my shoulder, and in that instant I woke up gasping on the floor of my apartment, soaked in sweat and ash, real ash. My palms were covered in soot, and from beneath my bed I heard it again, my sister's voice, this time with a child's giggle layered beneath it. "You left. The door open, Claire, now we can come and go." I don't know what made me start digging through the old photo boxes in my closet. Maybe it was desperation, maybe instinct, or maybe whatever had followed me out of that dream wanted me to. But hours before sunrise, I found myself tearing through shoeboxes of memories I hadn't touched since my mother passed, Polaroids and birthday cards and faded receipts, and at the very bottom, tucked inside an envelope labeled "Keep," I found a photo that made the world tilt beneath my feet. It was me, 8 years old, standing in front of a tall wooden door with the number 407 nailed to it, one hand raised like I'd just finished knocking, and smiling, not scared, not confused, but inviting, as if I already knew what waited behind it. The problem was I never lived in an apartment building as a child. We'd always rented houses, always, and this building was in Detroit. We never lived in Detroit. I flipped the photo over. On the back, in my mother's handwriting, it said, "Claire, July 2001, your secret friend's house." My blood ran cold. I stared at my younger self in the photo, at the shape of the door, the hallway walls, and they matched exactly what I'd seen in the hall this week. Same paint, same water damage, same rusted light fixture in the upper corner. I didn't understand, didn't want to, but I couldn't deny it now. Whatever 407 was, it had been part of my life longer than I realized. And if that door had appeared once when I was a child, it meant I'd seen it before and forgotten, or worse, been made to forget. I was still holding the photo when the lights in my apartment flickered off one by one, not like a power surge, but like someone was walking through the rooms and turning each switch down deliberately. When I looked up, the hallway was lit by a single red glow. The door at the end was open again, and this time I could hear two voices inside. Both mine this time. I didn't run, didn't flinch, didn't blink when the lights in my apartment cut out and the red glow from the hallway pulsed again. I stepped toward it, clutching the old photo of myself like it was a lifeline, and when I crossed the threshold of Unit 407, the temperature dropped so violently I could see my breath rise in the dimness. But I didn't stop, because I wasn't here to run anymore. I was here to remember, to find out what I'd forgotten. And as the door sealed shut behind me, the sound echoed like the closing of a vault. The room had changed again. It wasn't a bedroom this time. It was a corridor, narrow and endless, lined wall to wall with mirrors, but not reflections. versions. Each pane of glass showed a Claire I recognized but never remembered being. One with short hair and hollow eyes, one in a hospital gown, one screaming silently into nothing, one burnt skin, half melted, staring at me with something between rage and warning. They weren't reflections. They didn't mimic my movements. They were watching, observing. One of them raised a hand and pointed deeper into the corridor toward a final door that glowed white instead of red. I walked forward past the gallery of lost cells, feeling their stares like heat on my back, and when I reached the door I hesitated, but then I heard her, Allison, my sister's voice, clearer than ever on the other side of the door. Don't forget who you are this time, Claire. If you do, we all vanish again. My hand trembled as I turned the knob and stepped inside and found a room with no floor, no ceiling. Just black water, infinite and still, with dozens of islands floating in the distance, each holding a single object. A burned teddy bear, a scorched photo, the bracelet, a mirror, a box of matches, and more. And standing in the center, waist deep in the water, was me, one more version of me, but this one looked alive, warm, aware. You made it farther than any of us, she said, voice calm, eyes full of grief. But you have to finish it or it starts again. I stepped forward. Finish what? I asked. Her reply was instant. Us. Then she held out her hand, and I realized this wasn't about escaping 407. It was about choosing who deserved to leave. I wish I could tell you I remember what happened after I reached for her hand, the other. Me standing in that endless black water, but the moment our fingers touched it, was like the world folded inward, like the mirror of my life cracked and reformed with someone else's breath in my lungs, someone else's heartbeat in my chest, and I woke up back in my apartment with sunlight bleeding through the curtains, everything quiet, normal, wrong. My apartment looks the same. My name is still in the mailbox, my coat still hangs by the door, but when I look in the mirror, I feel like I'm looking through glass instead of at it, like something is on the other side pretending to be me with a little too much precision. I don't remember opening the fridge, but the food inside is different. I don't remember making coffee, but the cup was full, and worst of all, I found the bracelet again, this time already on my wrist when I woke up, clasped perfectly, even though I never put it on. I don't know if I'm the Claire who was meant to leave. I don't know if I made the choice, or if the choice made me. I haven't seen Unit 407 since. The wall at the end of the hallway is sealed shut, like it never had a door at all. But sometimes in the moments between sleep and waking, I hear someone whisper behind it, a voice like mine, but not mine, saying, don't forget or it all starts over. Last night, I passed a mirror in the stairwell and saw something awful. My reflection blinked after me. Just a second late, just enough to remind me. Maybe I didn't escape. Maybe I'm still inside. Maybe we all are. Thanks for watching this full psychological horror story. If the voice behind the wall made you question your own reflection, don't forget to subscribe, tap like, share this story with someone who's ever passed a door that wasn't there the day before. Tell us in the comments, what would you do if a part of your past opened its own door?